Morbid Facts, Part 763. Michael J. Fox was at the peak of his career when his life quietly turned into a tragedy. While filming Doc Hollywood at just 29 years old, he was diagnosed with early-onset Parkinson's disease, something doctors typically only see in elderly patients. He was so young that he thought the diagnosis had to be a mistake, but when specialists confirmed it, he went home, stared at the wall, and quickly fell into a deep depression, drinking heavily and hiding the truth from everyone for years, even his castmates. As the disease slowly destroyed his body, the world had no idea that while he was smiling and cracking jokes on the sitcom Spin City, his hand was shaking uncontrollably off camera. Directors had to constantly hide his symptoms by forcing him to sit during scenes or hold props with both hands. But Parkinson's didn't just steal his movement, it came with the threat of dementia, hallucination, and total loss of independence, a slow countdown he could do nothing to stop. Fox has since shattered bones from violent falls, undergone risky spinal surgery, and admitted that every day he wakes up with less control than the day before. The once energetic Back to the Future star has spent over 30 years watching himself fade in slow motion, and he said the moment he was diagnosed, "I felt my future get sucked out of the room." But instead of giving up, Michael turned his pain into purpose, founding the Michael J. Fox Foundation, which has now raised over $2 billion for Parkinson's research, making it the largest nonprofit funder of the disease in history by far. Despite losing control of his body, Fox might be the reason millions of others one day get theirs back. Morbid Facts, Part 303. Chinese-Mexican showgirl Lin May was a famous dancer who entertained various Mexican presidents throughout the 70s and 80s. But in the early 90s, her career quickly went downhill after a woman injected baby oil into her face, claiming it would keep her looking young forever. Clearly it had the opposite effect, since the substance resulted in serious swelling in her face that required multiple surgeries to fix. On a side note, when her husband passed away from prostate cancer in 2008, May dug up his corpse and slept with it out of grief. On Father's Day of last year, Idaho father Major John Kaler allegedly went ballistic after his neighbor's 18-year-old son exposed himself to Kaler's wife and kids through the window. Claiming this was the third time it happened and police would do nothing about it, Kaler went next door and murdered all 4 family members in the home. The son, who may have been autistic, was reportedly found in a praying position with multiple gunshot wounds. Kaler was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Extra Morbid Facts, Part 44. 18-year-old Kylie Montero thought she was starting her future, newly graduated, 11 weeks pregnant, and dreaming of naming her baby girl Eleanor. But instead, she walked straight into a nightmare. Her boyfriend, 22-year-old Gregory Groom, had a violent history she tried to escape, even hiding in a domestic abuse shelter for 3 weeks. But like too many victims before her, she went back hoping he'd change. On August 6, 2025, during a late-night visit to his house, an argument turned terrifying when Gregory threw her to the ground, pulled her hair, and started strangling her. Knowing something was seriously wrong, she sent one last chilling text to her sister. "My phone is at 4%. If I die, it was Greg." Moments later, he reportedly stabbed her in the neck and chest, killing not just Kylie, but also the unborn child she was excited to raise. Instead of calling for help, he spent hours digging a grave in his own backyard, and around sunrise, he shoved her body into the shallow hole like trash. For 13 days, Kylie's family begged for answers while Gregory acted innocent, until police finally found her buried behind his house. He was arrested and has pleaded not guilty. Morbid Facts, Part 765. At just 8 years old, future UFC champion Ronda Rousey lived through a nightmare most fans never hear about. Her father, Ron Rousey, suffered a brutal sledding accident that shattered his back and left doctors warning him that he would slowly lose all mobility, develop a deadly blood disorder, and die in agonizing decline. Unable to face a future of paralysis and hopelessness, he made a devastating decision. He drove out alone one night and took his own life, leaving his wife and daughters behind. Ronda has said the trauma never left her, and that her rage, toughness, and kill or be killed mentality in the cage were born from that loss. In 2014, a Ryanair flight issued 3 warnings telling passengers not to eat nuts because a 4-year-old girl on board had a life-threatening nut allergy. One passenger ignored them, opened a packet of nuts anyway, and the girl almost immediately went into anaphylactic shock. Her tongue swelled, she turned blue, and briefly lost consciousness as crew scrambled to inject adrenaline and prepare for an emergency landing, all because one idiotic passenger couldn't resist a snack. The girl barely survived, and the airline banned the selfish passenger for 2 years. Morbid Facts, Part 764. In 1993, 16-year-old Marie Robard seemed like the perfect student, quiet, polite, straight A's, and deeply trusted by her single father, Stephen. They lived alone together, and friends said she appeared mature and responsible, even helping to care for him. But beneath the surface, Marie was quietly angry about one thing, a custody ruling that forced her to live with her dad instead of her mother. She grew more distant over time, secretly obsessing over how to change her situation. Then one night, her father suddenly collapsed in excruciating pain and died just hours later. Doctors believed it was a heart attack, and Marie played the role of a heartbroken daughter so well that nobody suspected a thing. Life moved on. Over a year passed before a friend came forward with a chilling confession. Marie had stolen barium acetate from her school's chemistry lab and mixed it into her dad's refried beans, calmly poisoning him just so she could live somewhere else. Investigators exhumed the body, confirmed the toxin, and charged her with murder. She was charged as an adult, convicted, and sentenced to 28 years in prison. But in a shocking twist, the honors student killer was paroled after just 7 years, walking free before she even turned 30. Morbid Facts, Part 539. Children's entertainer and YouTuber Stephen John, aka Blippi, hasn't always been so family-friendly. He began his career as a gross-out video creator under the name Steezy Grossman, and would post shocking videos of himself performing grotesque acts across illicit websites. Most infamously, he performed the Harlem Shake in 2013 while standing unclothed on a toilet and defecated all over his unclothed friend. Despite Steven's regret and extensive efforts to have the video removed from the internet, it can still be found rather easily. Don't try to find it. Please don't. Oh my god, why did I watch it? What the fuck, Blippi? In 2013, unemployed 30-year-old Princeton graduate Thomas Gilbert Jr. shot and killed his hedge fund manager father just hours after being told his $1,000 weekly allowance would be cut down to just $300. He was sentenced to at least 30 years in prison. A Japanese pilot who bombed a town in Oregon during World War II returned 20 years later to present his family's 400-year-old sword as a symbol of regret. His daughter said that if he'd received a negative reaction, he would have used the sword to perform seppuku on himself instead. Morbid Facts, Part 243. In 2009, Arizona woman Marcia Powell was left in an outdoor cage while serving a 2-year sentence for prostitution. She was exposed to blistering heat for 4 hours and begged to be taken inside but was ignored. Marcia was later found dead from extreme heat exposure, with a core temperature of 108 degrees Fahrenheit and burn blisters all over her body. 16 prison employees were later fired or suspended for this horrible negligence, but no one was prosecuted. In 2010, Argentine model Joana Casas was allegedly shot in the head multiple times by her boyfriend just days before her 20th birthday. The man was later convicted of murder and sentenced to 13 years in prison. But despite this, Joanna's twin sister Edith ended up falling in love with the killer and married him less than a year into his sentence. Edith's parents have completely disowned her, stating that both girls are basically dead to them since, quote, Joanna is with God and Edith is with the devil.